Hey, everybody, welcome to Beyond Bricks. I am your host, Kevin Stewart. And guys, I'm telling you, I am so pumped for today because I have one of my favorite people on the entire planet on with me. Finally bringing in a guest. And there's no person in the world I would rather have be the first guest on this podcast than Mr. Ben Wilson, my mentor. I'm telling you guys, I've learned more from this man than probably anyone that's ever entered my life.
Mm.
And I have him. I'm so blessed to have him on the show today. Ben, welcome. Welcome to the show.
Man, I appreciate you having me on, and it's always good to hear that I have a little impact on at least one person in this world. So that's fun.
Well, guys, he's being a little shy right now because he has an impact on an incredible amount of people. And, that's kind of where we want to start today a little bit. And, myself and Ben could go on for days about all sorts of different topics and different things that we could bring to you guys. And he's actually the one who challenged me to do this. He challenged me to go into something that he felt and I felt I was good at and something that I could uh, give back to the world because Ben has really taught me to give back. Ben, tell everybody on here because one of the challenges that he gave to me was to really start to define my foundation, to define my purpose. So let's start with the purpose statement because I think that's a big one. And oddly enough, people will find ours are sneaky similar. So Ben, kind of go through with me when you start to develop your purpose statement and developing who you are and why you have a purpose statement. So just kind of go into that for anybody listening.
Well, I think you've got to go back to why ultimately you come up with anything that matters to you, right? And so for me, I was brought up, I had a great upbringing. I was fortunate enough to where although my parents got divorced when they were young, I had a wonderful stepfather come into my life, and I got to learn from my family and my mother and my father, and I got to learn what not to do and what to do. And then I got a chance to play sports, and then I got a chance to go to college, and I got a chance to do a lot of really great things with a lot of support around me, which isn't always the case. And I made a lot of mistakes in my life. I did a lot of things well early in my life. And then I chose to get married really young. So right after college, I was fortunate enough to meet my wife, who, it just happens to be that we're celebrating 25 years this year.
Yes,
Is
sir.
amazing. And she's probably got 2,500 times that she wanted to leave me along the way. But somehow, some way, I've held on. I've held on. And when we go and we talk about purpose in our life, you got to go back to why you even cared about purpose. Like, what caused me to care about life? And one of those things was my family, right? I never wanted to let my family down. And another one of those things is when I started my own family and I got married, and I was like, holy cow, now I have someone that I'm responsible for. And at the time, she had just turned 20 and I had just turned 23. And we start down this beautiful life together. And for me, I just wanted to be successful. I wanted to take care of my wife, and I wanted to make a lot of money, and I wanted to be successful. And I did it for a very short period of time. And then I realized, man, that wasn't what it was about. And then I was like, well, crap, what is it about? And so I started diving in on things that gave me energy and didn't give me energy. And where I ultimately landed on is I love making people happy. I love making people happy. I didn't necessarily know how I made people happy, but I knew I made some people happy and some people not so happy. And so my purpose really started from how I impacted people. And so in my 20s, like I said, I dove in like a bulldog, chasing success, and I just wanted to make my family happy. And to be honest with you, I wanted to make everybody happy. But I get through my 20s and I realized that there's a group of people, let's call it 50% of people in my life, that absolutely adored me, loved me, spending time with me. And then I had this other 50% that probably hated me. And I was like, what is going on? This is jacked up. I don't want anybody to hate me, right?
I
That's
know
a
that feeling.
Yeah, that's a
I don't
short.
know why everybody hate me. I love being loved, man. I love being a big old teddy bear. I love being adorable. I can't help it.
Yes, it's the best. And so I get down, right? I get down and I turn 30, and I look back, and this is where it all truly began in my late 20s. And right as I turned 30, I go, I don't want to walk into a store, a restaurant, an event, and run into somebody and have a 50-50 shot of whether or not that they're going to appreciate even being in my presence. And I said, what is it that I've got to change in my life? And what it was ultimately is I had to change. And I promise I'll tell you my purpose in a minute.
That's all right.
I
Yeah.
felt like,
Hey
I
guys,
felt like
just
it's
so y'all know,
necessary.
this is how Ben gets around the corner. He's like me. He's a good storyteller. So y'all better
You
buckle
get there.
up. Everybody
That's
listening
right.
better buckle up. This is gonna be a good one.
Let's have some fun. So we get there, right? I get there and I go, holy cow, I'm 29, 30-ish. I don't remember exactly what age I was, but it was right there. And I have done a lot of cool things, but now I got a 50-50 chance when I run into somebody that I know, whether that they like me or don't like me. And I said, I don't want that. I want to truly impact these people that I run into in my life in a very good way, in a fresh way, in a way that gives them a reason to want to feel better and be better. And I go, what is it in my life that I have to change? What is it in my life that I have to change? And it's what I woke up to and I pursued. And instead of pursuing success, I wanted to start to pursue something more valuable than that. And ultimately, it was significance. I wanted to pursue how I made people feel rather than what I did for them or what I could provide for them. And so I come up with in my early 30s and the fact that I spent a lot of my 20s making friends and losing them. And I spent most of my 30s cleaning up the messes. And here's how I cleaned up the mess. And it was strictly through my purpose statement. I literally wrote down and created a purpose statement. I've owned that purpose statement for going on 17, 18 years now. And my purpose statement is very simple. I want to be a positive impact to everyone that I encounter. Simple.
Everyone you encounter.
Everyone.
And guys, I'm telling you, so I've known Ben for a long time and I haven't known him since he developed that statement, but I've been there for at least half of that journey.
Mhm.
And I can tell you guys, this man lives that every single day. I'm not kidding. He will try to positively impact a person serving him a coffee or someone bringing him food at a restaurant or people at my country club that he knows and doesn't know and staff and every single person around him. He tries to dive in on every single level to try to make their life better. He
Yeah.
does it all the time. And he challenged me, oddly enough, a couple years ago to really start developing mine because he saw me going down some of the same paths. I think that's the beauty of having a mentor is that having a mentor is and attaching yourself to the right one is about, the reason we had that connection is because we went down a lot of the same paths. We did a lot of the same things. I was pushing people away in the same fashion. I was separating people in my life. And you started to say, Kevin, you got to get your head out of your rear end and you need to come up, you need to start defining who you are and the purpose for why you're here. And it's funny because I'd kind of heard you talk about yours for a while, but never in depth. And you were challenging me, and I came up with darn near literally the exact same one to be a positive impact on everybody I meet. I
Yeah.
want to create smiles. I want to create positivity in the world, and I want people to see that in me. And it's so funny that when we were doing that, I remember the night we're sitting in Scotland together, and you had challenged me to do it, and I bust out last year because you were having me redevelop it. And I put it down. You're like, no joke. And you texted Sarah Beth, and you said, Sarah Beth, what's my purpose statement? She sent back, and it was literally almost identical to mine. I'll never forget that night. Sitting there at the hotel late night, having a couple cocktails, talking it through, and we developed the exact same one. I don't know why, but I think it's part of why we're connected.
Absolutely.
I
Absolutely.
think
When
it's
you
part of
start
that.
to when you start to realize the difference between playing a game to win, right, or winning the game first and then getting to play, right? A lot of people just show up to the field and they go, "I'm going to play the game and I'm going to try to figure out the rules and then if I win, that's going to be amazing." What if you already knew the rules to the game and you knew what it took to win the game and then you go play?
Mm-hmm.
That's what we were talking about. And that's what it is about, right? Because what happens in our life, because we're still human, right? We're still real. We still have things that make us feel good and things that make us feel bad. What happens is that we're going to encounter times where we're not so positive.
Yep.
And it's in those moments that if you don't surround yourself with like-minded people, if you don't have a clear path or a purpose, you're not going to have people that give you the reset button or the corrective measures or the accountability in your life to make a change. Because as much as I want to be a positive impact to people and I want to have that as my purpose in life, guess what happens? Life. And sometimes I miss the mark. right? Sometimes someone makes me really upset on a golf trip and I've had enough and I'm just going to tell them what's up. And it's not going to be positive to that person. That stuff happens, right, Kevin?
100%. 100%.
And
We've
then,
both seen it.
yeah, for sure, right? And so then at that point, you get to make a choice. And I want to live a life where I get to make choices in life, but I make the right choice because I already know what the answer should be.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I look at situations like that in particular, that situation, because we're talking about purpose, right? And I look at a situation where I encounter that I'm not being the most positive person in my life or someone else's life in that moment, then I got to look at my situation and I got to say, what caused that to happen?
Yep.
Sometimes it's insecurity, man. Sometimes it's somebody hit a trigger button with me. Sometimes it's I allowed people in my life that should have never been in my life,
Mm-hmm.
right?
And that goes back into foundation, right?
Yes.
Because what, folks that have listened to this podcast before that are thinking back through and have thought back through and been listeners since I started this have heard me talk a ton about foundation. It comes up in almost every episode in some fashion or form. Beyond bricks is the idea that the brick wall that's right behind me and the brick wall, this 100-year-old office I'm in, doesn't stand today if it's not for an incredibly solid foundation and the foundation of who we are. And the purpose is part of that foundation. But what I want to go into next, and it was one of my very first episodes I did, was what you were just saying, is starting to define down what are the non-negotiables of your life and what are the pieces of your life. And you taught it to me, and you have a very, very defined non-negotiable system. You've come out with this power number. It's all over. For those that are listening, guys, I'm telling you, it's on his golf shoes. It's on his golf balls. It's on, literally, he surrounds himself with the number 37. It's wild. It's all over the place because it's ingrained into his foundation. It's the foundation of who he is, and it's turned into the foundation of who I am. Now, our 3 and our 7 are slightly different, which is what I want to get into next because I love it. I started mine, and I challenged everybody on this show listening of, as you're developing these, steal mine until you can find what works for you, because that's what you said to me.
Yeah.
You said, Kevin, you want to know what? You can't define it for yourself right now because my head wasn't in the right spot, right? You saw it. My head was in a bad place. I wasn't mentally ready to go to the next level. I wasn't mentally ready to be great, like it says right behind your head. I wasn't ready. I wasn't being great. I was being okay. I was being good enough, but I wasn't there. And then I got there. And as I got there, I started to develop my own pieces. And I remember texting you the day that I changed mine, and you saw the picture of them coming, the old ones coming down and my new ones going up on the wall. Very, very similar, but with a little bit of stew in it, right? A little bit of me in it, because I needed them to speak out of my heart. But I think that's what everybody out there needs to do. They need to create these founding principles in their life. So let's talk about that. Let's start with the first number, because guys, the 3 and the 7 is not 37 things. That would be a lot and very hard to remember. It is 3 things and then it's 7. So let's start with that 3. Ben, tell me what that 3 means to you in the 37.
Sure. So instead of looking at it as one whole number, look at it as 2 columns. One column with 3 particular characteristics in it, and another column with 3 identifiers, 3 standards, 7 standards and 7 principles that are involved. The column that has 3, because I think some of the people that are on this right now will be watching this, and so they'll be able to see my hands. But imagine 2 columns, and you've got 3 individual characteristics. That's what that first number represents, or key characteristics of what I want to be surrounded with in my life and who I want to be surrounded with in my life. That second number represents the standards or the principles that I desire to master or pursue mastering in my life every day. It's what I desire in my life at the highest level. It's what I'm devoted to being better at in my life. And those are 7 individual things that if I get these right, guess what? I win the game. I want to win. I told my kids a long time ago when I started coaching them when they were young, I told my wife, I told my friends, look, here's the deal. I have fun at the highest level when I win. But the more prepared I am to win, the more fun I tend to have.
Absolutely.
Right? I remember a story real quick before I dive into this. I remember one of the first time I was coaching an AAU team. No, it wasn't an AAU team. It was just a pay you play league, right? One of those little metro community leagues. And I went in there, and I'll never forget it. I was sitting down, I was having a conference with the kids, and then I sat down and I had a conference with the parents. And I set the expectations straight out the chute. Man, I got them dialed in. And I sit there and I looked at all the parents and I said, parents, I've got the kids over here. It's going to be a great season. It's going to be a magical season, but it's going to be a really tough season. So I need to make sure you all are on the same page with me. And I asked them one question. Do you want your children to have fun? And they all nodded their heads. Absolutely. I said, cool. I have the formula. You're probably not going to like it though. We're going to win. Because let me tell you, losing games is terrible for these kids. Winning games is unbelievable. It's the most fun they've ever had in their life. But in order to win, you have to work. And so if your kids are lazy, they will not like me. If your kids don't give 100% effort, they will not like me. If your kids complain and whine about playing time, they will not like me. And that goes also for you, parents. You will not like me, but you will love me if we win and we have fun. So if you all truly believe what you just told me, that you want your kids to have fun, I'm going to make sure that they have fun. In the first year I coached, we lost 2 games. The first year we lost 2 games, right? And those kids were devastated because they wanted to win. And I went
That's
on.
a whole lot of winning, PS. That's only losing
We
2.
lost 2 games, but here's the whole point is I had 0 complaints from the parents, and I was tougher on their kids than they probably ever saw anybody. Probably most of them tougher than they'd ever been on them kids. But I loved them too, right? And so you go back and we set standards in place. Because in order to win the game, right, you have to have structure and standards. So what this power number is 3 things for me in particular that say, boom, I have to have this, and I can't teach this, I can't grow this. People either have it or they don't.
Mm-hmm.
And then that second pillar, that number 7, those non-negotiables and those principles, those tell me the things on whether we're winning or losing the game. Both of those happen from time to time in the middle of the game, right? But it doesn't have to define the game. So that for me is where everything has to start. And you were dead on. You said I had to steal it, but I never said that you had to steal it. I told you you could borrow it.
Yeah, that's right. You didn't say steal. You said borrow it. You said borrow mine until you're ready to have your own.
That's it.
And you want to know what I did? And it helped me find my own.
That's right.
And that's what people need to understand that are listening to this is you just have to start somewhere.
Yeah.
And when you're building a foundation, me or you are in the housing industry, right? This is what we do. We sell homes for a living. It's a basis and core nucleus of both of our businesses. We're not where we are today without that.
That's right.
But so we know a little bit about construction, right? We know a little bit about that. I'd say more than the average person walking down the street, right?
Yeah.
So what's the first thing? What's one of the first things you have to do when you're dropping your foundation?
Dig the footers.
You got to dig the footers, right?
Yeah.
You got to pick up a shovel. You have to
do
something. You got to do some work.
That's
you got to break ground.
Ooh, that's
right?
good.
You got to break ground. That's the very first step of any construction phase. Usually it's done through a party.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times it's done with a hard hat and a fancy looking shovel that ain't going to move any of that dirt.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're going to do a big project, you got to break ground. And that's what had to happen is I had to break ground. And I had to have someone challenge me to break ground. And then once I did, the shovel got in, then it got here, and then I started uncovering things and I started finding things. But breaking ground for most people, they don't even get to that step. They don't even know where to put the shovel. So until they can find where to break ground, they need to just have a vision, see something, borrow it. Borrow it from us, guys. Borrow what we're talking about until you can find where to break ground and where to drop your shovel. So
I had
Ben, tell us
somebody,
about those three things.
well, I had somebody tell me a long time ago, they said, if it's new, it's not true.
Ooh,
Said if it's new, it's not true. So everything that we're sharing, that Kevin's sharing with you, that I'm sharing with you right now, is all something that I was given along the way, and now I have, because I own it. Someone gave it to me. Now I own it. Now I have a responsibility to share it and allow other people to own it eventually too.
what,
Right?
like giving it all away?
Like giving it all away. I have a responsibility. I have something that's literally in my bathroom right now, right? I'm a very visual person. I'm a man. I'm visual, right? I like to see stuff, right?
Yep.
And so it's very visual, and it says one simple statement: it's not mine. You know, we live in a very possessive world right now. Like everyone wants to own and take and accumulate, and they want to control. And the truth of the matter is my belief systems and the way I've been brought up and the way my faith works is none of it's mine. It's all my responsibility to take care of to the best of my ability. And so those three items, those three key characteristics of what I desire in my life are driven on what gives me energy
Yep.
and allows me to feel as if I can be the best version of myself when I'm around people that have these three characteristics. It also does something else. It gives me permission with these three characteristics to impact this person in a positive way, which goes back to my purpose,
Mhm.
right?
And for me, it gives me a filtration system, which I desperately need.
Yes.
Anyone that knows me and walks a path with me knows I want to be everyone's best friend. I just don't know how to do it. It just, I walk into a room and I'm like, I have 45 new best friends today. Like I've been that way since I was a kid, since I was a little tiny knucklehead. I've just always been that way. But you want to know what? When you're that way, you got to start building in a defense mechanism because I have been pulled down some weird paths by some people that never should have got in my life.
Yeah. Well, you've got to find the purities, right? That's the whole purpose of a filtration system. You've got to find the purities, right? And you got to be able to pull those purities out. And we get clouded because we are people pleasers. And so
Mm-hmm.
it's hard to always see the purities if you don't have a filter. So I love the fact that you brought up about the filter because that shows us the purities of what we connect with the most. So what are the three things, right? Number one, I have to have competitive people. I told you I have fun when I win the game. You can't win the game consistently in your life unless you're competitive. And it's not what a lot of people believe. It's not about being competitive to beating someone else. It might start that way, but true competition, true competitiveness, a true competitive nature means that they are going to pull out everything, the best version of themselves. And they're going to challenge themselves to always be better. They are never, ever arriving. See, a lot of people think that being satisfied is sexy, right? I think it's not. I think being complacent is poor, but I think that being satisfied is not sexy. I think being the best version of yourself, fulfilling your greatest potential, right? Being satisfied is a moment in time and you can enjoy that moment of time. But then if you really evaluate, if you're truly competitive, you go, okay, that felt good. Now let's see what the next step is.
Yep. It's like
So I
what
have,
Matthew McConaughey said, right? My hero is myself 10 years from now. It's the
period.
future me. It's my future self. It's the person that I am becoming. That is my hero.
Ooh, I
I
love
love
that.
that.
Me too. Me too. So you have to have people that are competitive and specifically people that are competitive within themselves. And a lot of people that are on this and that are listening to this, you're going to say, well, how do I know if they're competitive? Right? Challenge them. Take them golfing. You'll find out.
Yep. Quick.
Play, what is it that y'all play? Euchre? Y'all play euchre?
Euchre in
Euchre.
Michigan. Yeah.
Yeah. Michigan, everywhere, everybody plays euchre. I love spades. Play ping pong, right? Um, challenge
Shoot
somebody,
pool.
huh? Shoot pool, right? But find some way. It doesn't just have to be sports. It can be other things that you can challenge them in. You can challenge somebody if they're overweight to stop eating, right? You'll
Hmm.
find out how competitive a person is. Some of the most competitive people I know have been extremely overweight and now no longer are.
Yep.
But they needed permission along the way in their lives, and that's what I love. I have three people in my world right now. And amongst all three people right now, the combined lost weight within the last year and a half, almost 2 years, is 300 plus pounds.
Wild. It's awesome.
It might even be closer to 400, just to be really honest with you.
And the truth is that does not happen unless they're competitive individuals. There is no way. And
It
the fact
doesn't.
that they all did it, they probably got a little competitive with each other.
Yeah. And so that's number one. The second thing is that we have to have people that have high character. Because here's the problem. If you have people who are extremely competitive, right, and they don't have character, that's a lawsuit waiting for me in my world. So I got to have some character. I have to have a lot of character. I have to have people that want to do the right thing, that desire to do the right thing. Probably one of, and this is kind of wild when people listen to this, but probably one of the most highest or the highest character person or one of the highest character people I have in my life was a drug dealer at 14.
Yeah.
Was a drug dealer at 14. And he wasn't just a common drug dealer. This guy was slanging.
He was
I
a
don't know
street
nothing about
pharmacist.
that world. Most people would see or hear that story and they would automatically assume low character until you find out his story, right? You find out he had a mom and dad that were absent. He had to survive on his own, and that was the only thing in his neighborhood that was presented to him that allowed to put food on the table and clothes on him. That was
Yep.
it.
It
And he
felt like his only option because it's the only one that had ever been breathed into him and
that's it.
spoken into him.
And now fast forward, obviously that's not his world anymore, right? But he had to have high character, right? And if you have those things in your life, and if you have people that are competitive, right, and that have high character, you then start to build on something that's just beautiful. That's just beautiful. What about some of yours? I'll get to my third one in just a minute.
So I'll give you my first two because they're virtually the same. So I said the competitive thing, but I actually defined it in my own world as internally competitive. And you talked about that. But I was specifically, I don't necessarily need someone that's gonna be a shark killer in my world because I know a lot of people that are, my wife is internally competitive, but it's very internal. She wants
Yeah.
to be great herself, but she's not competitive in sports. She wants to be good at them. She's taking up golf now. And it's
Yeah.
funny. I'm seeing competitive come out of her because she wants to be good at it. She's texting me last night because she's like, babe, I'm playing great. This is awesome. I'm starting to see it, right? I'm starting to feel that competitive in her. But, to me, internal competition is the most important part. I want people that want to be the best version of themselves, that have so much internal competition that I also don't have to check them necessarily that often because I know they're getting on themselves, right?
Right.
Internally competitive to me is very important.
Yeah.
So I put down internally competitive just because I like the way it defined for me.
Yeah.
And I like what you were saying about how do you figure that out? Because that's I think that's for me, the hardest one to identify right off the get go. I'm very good at reading people. I've always felt, I say this a lot. I've started to really own it is one of my gifts. One of the gifts that I've been given is I can read people very, very, very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell a lot of things about people because my gut served me very well in that. And I can tell you, I can see that by a lot of people relatively fast. But most people, that's a hard one to gauge. It's a hard one to measure if you're not used to seeing it. My
Yeah, if you're
second
running,
one,
if the people that are on this right now, if they're running businesses or things along that line, anything, if they're running a company, if they're leading people or managing people, one of the best ways to find out if someone's competitive through the interview process, like let's say you're trying to hire them and you go through this interview process, is to give them a project to work on and present back to you in a short period of time,
yep,
right? That's going to require, maybe they have a full time job, it's going to require effort above and beyond the normal call of duty.
yep.
And you give them a project, the ones who are competitive, they're going to blow your mind, right? The ones who are not competitive are going to probably go, oh my gosh, I completely forgot. I was busy. My
List of
work,
excuses.
I had to work overtime. We had to get little Johnny to the ball games, and the ball game ran late. Right? You're going to hear stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good way to do it for people who have or managing people and are hiring people to be able to pull that out quickly.
And to me is part of the internally competitive is I want people who want to be the best versions of themselves because I don't do victims anymore. People
Yeah.
that listen to this podcast have heard me say this a ton of times. I am over victim mentality. When I start, as the second I start identifying victim mentality in someone, I'm like, oh, dude, see you. Like,
Yeah.
I just don't want it because that just rips the life out of me. It just rips life out of me. I don't mind the things you've done. The individual you were talking about before, your past is your past. That does
Sure.
not matter. Your tomorrow is what you make it. And
Hmm.
so I want people, if you're internally competitive, I believe that you are going to own your circumstances. You're going to own where you're at and be able to move forward to where you're going to go. It's
That's right.
just what's going to happen. So that to me is a big part because that's one of my clear defines is I don't want anybody that's a victim. And if you're internally competitive, there ain't no way you're a victim because you have enough self-talk that you can pull yourself forward, which I
Yeah.
love. So my second one, just like yours, high integrity. I got to have people that have some integrity that know what's the difference between right and wrong.
That's
We
right.
all know what's right and we know what's wrong. That doesn't mean we always do what's right. We all mess up. I'm a huge mess up. I'm a giant mess up. I'll admit that to anybody and everybody, but it doesn't mean that I don't know how to correct it and then find ways to fix that moving forward.
That's right.
So and that's part of integrity for me. Integrity is taking ownership of your circumstances, not being a victim, not blaming it on other people and saying, look, I screwed up. Like
Yeah.
Ben, me and you have had conversations where I've called you Ben, like Ben, I messed up.
Yeah.
This is what happened, and I'm sorry, and I'm gonna be better moving forward.
Yep.
And I can say that to you because you know I have high integrity and I'm willing to push forward.
Correct.
So let me give you my third. Well, let me give you my third thing, and then we're gonna have you're gonna give yours to everybody. So for me, and this is one that I know we're a little bit different on. For me, I have to have positivity.
Okay. Yeah.
My third thing is I want people that are positive. I want people that smile, that want to live life to its fullest and just make me happy. I don't want people in my life that are Eeyores, that are just down in the dumps all the time. Because when you spend a lot of time with them, you're like,
Yeah.
you start to get bummed out. I need people that are
Call them
positive.
energy vampires.
Yeah, just people that just suck the life out of you. That every time you see them, they all tell you about all the things, how the sky's falling, and how the whole world is a disaster, and blah blah. Everything comes out of their mouth is negative. I'm like, dude, do you not hear what you're saying? Like, what is going on? Turn that frown around. Like, come on, man. Like, the world is not that bad. You live a great life. We all in this country live a great life. I believe that, and we all have the opportunity to live a better life. So for me, I want people that are positive because positive breathes into me more positive. It makes me more positive and makes me want to go and fulfill my
Mhm.
purpose statement.
That's it. That's it.
And so to me, having people that are positive, that create positivity and know what that looks and feels like is a must.
Yeah. So
What's yours?
you have internally competitive, you
Yep.
have be positive, and you have high integrity.
High
Those are your
integrity.
three.
Yep.
Those are your three. And when you get these three, right, because you believe all three of these are not just part of someone's DNA, but they're still a choice too every day, right?
Yep.
Because I think there's a combination. And when you get this, you believe that not only will you be the best version of yourself, but you have a chance collectively to be an even better version collectively.
We both have a chance to affect positive change in each other's lives. When I
Yeah.
have someone and I meet someone that checks those boxes, I can get down with that.
Yeah.
I will pour anything and everything into that relationship because I know they're going to fit the criteria and I know that there's someone that's going to go do it for other people.
That's right. Yeah.
Ripple effect. We and you talk about ripple effect. I want to create a ripple effect in my life that goes way beyond my years here. That's part of why we're doing this.
That's it.
This podcast is a ripple effect. I hope it becomes a ripple effect. That's what I want it to be. To where people can listen to this and then maybe it helps them a little, then they can take it and take it and they can take it. This is the length of the ripple effect. And that's what I want to have happen. I truly believe that if someone has those three characteristics, boom, we can take off. I can work with anything else.
Yeah. I have kind of a rule in our office that I don't hire positions, I only hire people.
Hmm.
You know, and you talk about the filter, this is the filter of which we hire everybody through,
Yeah.
right? This is the filter of which we drive everybody through. It doesn't matter if you come in and you're broke. If you have these three characteristics, we got a chance of doing something special. I don't care if you have gone out there and been a Hall of Fame baseball player and now your career is over and you're wanting to come and engage and live life with me. I can still, if I have those three things, we can make you the greatest realtor or someone that's in our organization, whatever position that is, we can make you the greatest there if we have those three things. I agree with you. Now, my third one is very similar. We have some similarity. Obviously, we're talking about that. And some of the reason that that is things that are attractive to one become attractive to two, right?
Oh, yeah.
And then what happens is that like-minded people tend to be attracted to one another, especially if it's truly who they are. Like, I can't think of a time since we've been spending time with each other, I truly cannot think of a time that I go, gosh, I've had enough.
Right.
Like, I can't think
And
of it.
I've probably given you quite a few opportunities.
I've definitely had a few times where I said he's had enough, right?
Yeah, yeah, we reel him in like, holy cow.
Yeah. But I cannot think of a time, and that's a telltale sign, right?
Yeah.
We had a group of people that came over to our house last night. Our life group from church came over to our house last night. It was the first time they've been over to our house, and it's a new life group for us, right? And it's kind of new. These are some new relationships, and my wife and I were really excited about it. And our thought was they were going to come over around 6 o'clock, and we were going to eat and fellowship and have a little break bread and hang out for a little bit, and then everyone would roll out probably 7:30, 8 o'clock. That was the thought, bro. It was 9:45, and the only reason people left is because someone overheard a comment that I had a 9:30 bedtime, of which obviously I did not hit, right? But what does that mean? That means, man, everybody's vibing and time is flying and people are connected. And what happens when you get those three things right, or four things, or two things? It doesn't matter what your number is. When you get those key characteristics right, energy is endless.
Oh, 100%.
Energy is endless. We stayed up. I was just at your house last week. We stayed up after going hard all day, having a blast, working hard, being out in the hot sun. We stayed up till one night to 2:30 in the morning
Yep.
and got back up early the next morning, ready to go
With energy.
with energy.
Go figure.
Yeah. That's the beauty of knowing what those key characteristics. So I gave you high character, right?
Mhm.
Specifically high character, competitive. If I get those two, ooh, it's a beautiful thing. But then the third thing becomes really special. And the third thing is very similar, but how I describe it is being self-driven. I learned a long time ago, I'm a terrible babysitter. I am a terrible babysitter. I cannot worry about whether or not you're going to show up to the office or whether or not you're going to, wake up on time, right? I need someone that's self-driven, whether or not you're going to, when challenged, you're going to cry and moan and be all negative Nancy, or you're just going to look and you're going to go, this sucks. I hate that he just told me this. This feels terrible, but I am going to prove him wrong. You know how many people are in my office now that have literally just wanted to prove me wrong, and they didn't realize that I was challenging them to see that they're better than what they thought?
That's so good. You're like, got him.
That's the self-drive within, right?
But just because you know they have that,
They have it.
because it's your filter.
That's it.
Everybody that you hire, you're putting through, you challenge them through those three things. So you can push them in that way, and they're going to respond
Yep.
in that fashion towards the situation, instead of being the person that turns around and goes, he is mean to me and I don't want to talk to him anymore.
Yeah. And we definitely have that, and you notice and you see that. So those three characteristics for me, when I get that, oh my gosh, we have optimal chance. Not guaranteed, but we have optimal chance to live an awesome life and what? Win the game. Win the
And
game.
win it long term, over and over. We're talking dynasty style.
That's what it's about, for me at least. I want to win the game so well that all the other people feel a responsibility to take the game, the winning game, and actually make it better.
100%.
You know what I
So
mean?
let's get into the second half of the foundation. Go through with us quickly-ish your seven pieces, right? Your 7 non-negotiables, because that's something I think everybody needs to hear. They need to hear these 7 non-negotiables. I'll rattle off mine after, and just a brief reason for each one of them as to why those are a standard in your life, a non-negotiable, because that's the best term there is these things are literally non-negotiable to you, correct?
Right. For sure.
It's
For
just
sure.
a standard. It's like the gold standard. Like this is what we do. If it does not land in this, we don't make that decision. We just don't do it.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing, correct me if I'm wrong, this is both personal and professional.
100%.
100%. So go into that
Yeah.
for us.
Yeah, this is kids. This is wife. This is, coaching my kids on the golf course. This is, coaching my kids in basketball. This is coaching soccer. This is everything in my life. If we get these 7 things and we pursue these 7 things, I'm not saying you get them. These are hard. They're easy to do, but they're hard to stay true to, right? They're just hard to stay true to, but they're easy to do. And they're not complicated. I think this world complicates things, right? They
Yep.
say, I heard this the other day. It says when you're growing and you're growing really a lot, it creates things that become complex. And the more complex something becomes, the less it grows.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of wild. So, what we have to do is when we're in the growing phase, we have to actually find ways to simplify what we do. And so, these are the simplest things that if we get these 7 things right in what we do every day, once again, we're going to win the game. We're going to play at such a level that it doesn't matter whether you want to sell pencils, right? Or you want to sell planes. You're going to win.
Yep.
Number one for me, I'll rattle the 7 because I know for the sake of time today, I want to be respectful of that with you guys. But number one, you just simply show up. They say in sports, if you're a true athlete and you just simply show up, you've already beat out 80% of the other players. 80.
That's
If you just
crazy.
show up. It's crazy, right? So show up is number one. And what I mean by show up is that I mean if you're supposed to be someplace, actually be there.
Literally show up.
Yes. Show up. If I'm supposed to be on a podcast, it does not matter what's going on. If I show up, I mean, if I told you and I committed to it, I actually show up and I'm prepared, right? That's part of showing up, right? I'm in the right mind, meaning I got good rest. That's part of showing up, meaning I don't have a bunch of distractions in my life. That's part of showing up, but that evolves. But simply just show up. If you just get there physically, right? Get there emotionally, get there in your heart, right? The next one is be consistent. Because once you show up, so many people in the world of investment, they all want the big hits. Oh, I want Bitcoin and I want to go from $12,000 to $45,000 and I want to make 1,000% return this year. And they want to literally make all their money and they want to win the lottery. And everybody knows the majority, not all, but the majority of people that win lottery lose it within a very short period of time. So what we have to do, we have to put things in our life that matter and make them consistent. So we show up and we create consistency in our life. The third thing is, and this hits on your positivities, you have to have a great attitude. If you choose to have a poor attitude, you will get poor performance. You will get poor results. If you have a great attitude, you now have a chance to get great results and you get great opportunities along the way. But having a great attitude, there's an old saying that a lot of people that your attitude dictates your altitude, right?
Oh yeah.
But
Love
it's
that
true.
phrase. Love that statement.
It's true. So having a great attitude, the next one is, and this is a struggle for a lot of people in this world, you got to be committed for the long haul. You know why? Because once again, life happens and you're going to get smacked in the face. You're going to get knocked down. You're going to get beat up. You're going to get made fun of. You're going to get bullied. Like this whole bully thing, everybody I know's been bullied.
At some point, we all have.
I was bullied. I was bullied by friends. I was bullied by neighbors. I was bullied by teachers. I was bullied by coaches. I was bullied by my parents.
Man, I still get bullied.
We all been bullied. But if I'm committed for the long haul and I'm focused on my purpose in the end game, right? Because I know how to win the game. If I'm focused on that, staying committed for the long haul gives me a great chance to win. In the world of financial investment, they say it's never timing of the market, it's always time in the market.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you become wealthy. So being committed for the long haul. The fourth or the fifth one is being passionate and faith driven, right? Meaning you believe in something that you're willing, that's above and beyond you in authority, that you're willing to sacrifice for. I believe in a greater source of power, which in my belief system, in my love of life, is my relationship with Christ, period. And I am willing to suffer and sacrifice, which is passion. A lot of people think passion is positive, man. Passion's not positive,
Nope.
but it's awesome. But it's awesome. And so I want to be faith driven and I want to be full of passion. The sixth item for me on my non-negotiables is being willing to pay the price.
Mm.
Like I just don't know anybody that's truly fulfilled. I know a lot of successful people that are not fulfilled, but I don't know anybody that's truly fulfilled that never paid a price. I just don't.
You got to sacrifice. You
You
have
have
to.
to. You have to. And so being willing to pay the price takes it to the next level.
Mm-hmm.
And then once again, the final thing is just do the right thing.
Yeah.
When the fit hits the sham, when your back's against the wall, when you have multiple options that maybe allow you to win in the moment, but you know it's not the right thing, choose to do the right thing every time, and your future will be better.
Always.
Always. So
Always
those
do the right thing.
7 non-negotiables. I don't ever correct, I don't ever discipline, I don't ever create consequences in any of my companies around any other things than those 7 things. That's it.
And you're able to, because I've seen you do it and I've heard you do it, you're able to correct people that work for you, people in your companies, always directly on those. You just point one or two out that they're missing the mark on, and they go, "Oh yeah, you're right." Because if your first one is show up, you want to know what if someone's consistently late and not ever on time, are they really showing up? If
No.
someone's got a bad attitude, is walking in is has poo in their pants because they're upset from the day before, you can point right to those and say, "Hey, look, guys, this is not what we do. This
Yeah.
isn't what we do here."
Mm-hmm.
I love that. I
Yeah.
love that it's the directional standard that everybody understands. And anybody, I'm telling you, for those listening, anybody that is in Ben's life knows about the 37 because he lives it out loud. He will tell everybody about these things because it's the foundational filter of his life. And
Yeah.
nobody doesn't know this. And so, if you're going to be in Ben's life and you choose to go down a path of relationship with Ben Wilson, you are going to have to live into this standard, because if you're not willing to do that, you ain't going to be in there very long, right?
That's right.
You're
That's
just
right.
not going to be a part of your life. You got a lot of people in your life and you probably don't need any more. You're willing to take more, but you don't need any more. And so
Yeah.
you're not going to bring people into your life that don't fit into that standard. Why would you?
Yeah.
That don't have that basis in them. I've got mine are pretty much the same right there on the wall. Show up, be consistent, have a great attitude, be committed, do the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Wonder where I got those from.
Yeah.
Right? Because you showed me that, and as I was going through this, I was like, man, every single one of those speaks to me in the exact same fashions as they do you. I added 2 more that are important for me. One, which we've already talked about a little bit: have fun.
Yeah.
Gotta have fun. I don't know how to not have fun in life, and I don't want to not have fun. I enjoy every part of this life, and fun is what a lot of it points back to. It's
Mm-hmm.
so good. And if I can be consistent and have fun, if I can be consistent, I get to have more fun.
That's
So a
right.
lot of those top ones point to having a little more fun. And
Yeah.
my last one is believe. I
That's a good
put
one. That's a
believe
good one.
because to me, if you don't believe that it's possible, if you don't believe in yourself, if you don't believe that you can, it's not going to matter. You, in your core soul, you got to believe. It's a must. And it's amazing what can be done if you just commit to believe.
Yeah.
You
I heard
have to
some,
believe it.
you talking about belief, I think one of the greatest superpowers that anybody can have is influence, right?
Mm-hmm.
And influence is pretty wild because you can influence to people to do bad things and good things. And what I learned and what I have learned in life is that it's not about people believing that what you say is true as much as it's about them believing that you believe that what you're saying is true.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you have that belief system, man, people will follow you, they will choose, they will make decisions with you, and they will stay connected with you. And then if you actually continue to do the right things, man, they are ride or dies in your life because of belief. So I love the fact that you have that one.
Yeah, when you add that all in and add that all in together, it's just incredible the life that you can live and the life that you can live with other people when it breathes through you,
Yes,
right? And
that's
so
right.
it's just one of the things that I love and the things that we've developed and that I've been able to develop with you. And I don't know if I say it enough, but thank you.
Mm.
Thank you for teaching this to me because I'm a better man because of it. I
Oh,
truly am a better human being. I'm a better man. I'm a better husband. I'm a better father. I'm a better business owner because I've developed this foundation. And I don't think I have this foundation developed if it wasn't for you.
oh,
That's just the truth. And you've breathed that to me. And I want so much now to give that away. Part
mm,
of the give it away is we're going to give this away and we're going to give it to as many people as we can because I know what it's done for me. I know what it's done for you. And I know what it's going to do for other people.
mm.
It's so important. It's going to help people go be great. As you say all the time, you challenge me, you challenge everyone about you to go be great, not good, not average, not mediocre, not just a little bit, go be great. And like I say all the time, is go be yourself.
Yes,
Go be
yes.
yourself because the world needs you. Everybody out there that's listening, that's our end challenge. Go be great and go be yourself because the world absolutely needs you to be that. Ben, thank you again so much. We're going
You.
to have you back on. Guys, I promise we're going to have Ben on for some more awesome information. Thank you for being on our show today. I love you dearly. Have a good one, guys. See
Love
ya.
you, brother.